Well, welcome back. The idea that you're ready to get started is really a good idea. Starting is not number one priority for most people. I find that most newcomers, they're more interested in lifestyle. By that I mean they love to have money, but they don't want to start learning investment programs. They prefer to have a nice fancy apartment or a new house. They love to go traveling, and of course they love to entertain. Now maybe that's not you and you really want to start investing. Well, I'm going to certainly teach you how. Now, young people don't usually like to scrimp and save. Lifestyle is much more important to them. They really appreciate driving a nice BMW, or like Lance, who works for me, he's got a nice new truck, okay? So everybody wants to do it a little bit different. But young people, sooner or later, they're going to want to learn to be an investor. So we're going to cover that on this video. Now, my name is Ted Thomas, and I've been involved in alternative real estate investment for over 30 years. That alternative investment is tax liens and tax deeds. I'm going to tell you about that a little later on. But right now, I'll tell you my first career was as a pilot. Now, that was a challenging career, and I count my blessings every day because I was able to travel around the world, foreign countries, different continents, and I was getting paid to do so. So that just couldn't have been better. I got paid, and I was working. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to answer your question, how can I start investing with a little money? So I'll be right back. Just over 30 years ago, I discovered a little known but highly lucrative business. And I was shocked because the return on the investments were definitely safe and secure, and you could start with less than $1,000. Now, this was an investment where I could invest with the government, I could get a check back from the government, and I was guaranteed my returns. So in a world where we're bombarded with all the information about who just made another $1 billion from the newscasters, whether it's television or it's the internet or whether it's the newspapers or radio, constantly we're hearing about billionaires getting richer and richer. Well, that's all fine for them. But what about us? What about the guy or the gal that doesn't have big money and didn't get big money from the stockholders so they could be rewarded from the stockholders and get billions of dollars? For someone that just wants to get started with $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000. So let's cover that because that's who's watching these YouTube videos. All right, now the episode is all about how can I get started with little money. Now everyone isn't going to be Jeff Bezos, who created Amazon, or Microsoft and Bill Gates. Now they had a lot of stockholder money so they could grow, they could make mistakes. They started small, they grew. I'm not negative on any of that. But there's also another whole group of people out here that would like to have the freedom of having money, and they would like to make money and do it in a nice, safe, secure way. So I'm going to cover a lot of fundamentals in the next few minutes, and I'm going to give you some solutions to having safe and secure money. What's wrong with safe and secure? There's no better place to start. The first rules we're going to cover. So let's establish some rules for investing. Rule number one, don't lose money. Rule number two is referred to rule number one. Now, if you want an investment that's like that, then I'm going to tell you about tax lien certificates. So you don't have to be Warren Buffett, you don't have to be Bill Gates, you don't have to be a financial whiz. This is an easy investment that you can do that goes on across the United States. So 30 years ago, I discovered tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property. Some people say tax liens and tax deeds. All right, now this was an all-new investment strategy for me, but when I started learning about it, I learned very quickly it had been around for decades, like for 200 years. So it's amazing how much you don't know what you don't know. Well, I didn't know a lot either, but I learned that this was a government-controlled monopoly, and it was administered by the government, and the government guaranteed you rewards. All right, for example, you can invest in a local county, and depending upon the state that you're in, earn 16%, 18%, 24%, up to 36%. Now hold on, because if you don't know it, the banks are paying 1% or less, and now we have state governments and county governments that'll pay you 16, 18, 24, up to 36%. So when I learned that, I knew this was an investment everybody would want to know about. Now, once I learned this, I never looked back. I said, this is going to be the business for me, because I could also see with tax deeds that I could make my money the day I bought. So if I looked at it and I could buy a property for 20 or 30 cents, well, I knew I could sell it for 30, 40, 50, or 60 cents. So I knew if I bought it right, I could make money. Now, you can benefit legally and ethically from these high interest rates on tax lien certificates, and the checks are going to come from the government. You can get started for less than $1,000. Matter of fact, some people get started for less than $500. So if you've been around investing for any length of time, I've been doing this for 30 years now, but you can do this starting tomorrow afternoon. Almost half of the counties in the United States will sell tax liens. So not to worry, there's going to be plenty, there's going to be enough for everybody. I'm in the state of Florida in my little studio right now talking to you, and I can tell you Florida has 1 million tax lien certificates every year, and they pay 18%. Okay, so the maximum rate is 18%. Think about that. These are powerful certificates. So today I'm answering the question, how can I start investing with just a little money? Now, my answer to you is you can start out with tax lien certificates. Half of the counties sell tax liens. Now, there's over 3,000 counties in the United States, and what's going on here? People aren't paying the taxes. When they don't pay the tax, the government issues a tax certificate. You can buy that certificate and pay someone else's taxes. What do you mean pay someone else? That's right, you can pay someone else's taxes. So your money is protected by the law. So the legislature of the state has said to the Board of Supervisors or the county commissioners, look, if people don't pay taxes, we got to do something about it. So the first thing they do is they authorize the treasurer to levy the tax. Then they authorize the treasurer to collect the tax. If they can't collect the tax in a tax lien state, they issue a tax lien certificate. You can buy that and pay someone else's tax. If you do, you're going to get paid that high, outrageous interest rate from that state. Now, they don't throw the people out. You don't get possession of the property. Those people stay in the property. These are very benevolent states. They let the people stay even though they're in default. They let them stay there and give them sometimes up to 2 or even 3 years to pay that tax, to pay that debt. So that means all that time you're making money because the debt is accruing at 16, 18, or 24%. And all you did is buy a tax lien certificate. Now you control that property. It can't be sold. It can't be mortgaged. Nothing can happen on property until you pay. All right, so these certificates pay outrageous rates. Now, in Illinois, they pay all the way up to 36%. So you're getting the idea. So you can be making a ton of money with tax lien certificate. Perfect investment for those folks that have a little gray hair or those folks that want very conservative investment. So what happens? Well, you buy the certificate. It'll have a time limit on it. They have to pay you. If they don't pay you, and that's what you're worried about, but I'll tell you right now, according to the counties, 97% of all the certificates will pay you all of your original capital, and they'll pay you the high interest rate. But you're saying, Ted, what if I don't get paid? If the government doesn't get paid, why will I get paid? Here's why you'll get paid. Because you own the certificate on that property. If they don't pay that certificate and buy it back from you, that's called redeem or redemption. If they don't redeem that certificate, you will own the property with no mortgage. That's right. The county wipes out the mortgage, and you now own the property if they don't pay you on a tax certificate. Now, I didn't make the rules, but I can tell you the legislature authorized the county to conduct that auction. When they conduct that auction, it's a public auction. Anybody can go to it. If those people don't come forward and pay you, you will get the property. Now, I'm going to tell you ahead of time, 97% of these people are going to pay. So if they're going to pay, you're going to make a high interest on your money. So is that a good deal? Yes, because you invested with the government. The government is going to collect their taxes. When they do, they're going to collect those interest payments and send them to you. It couldn't be a better deal. This is the safest, the most lucrative investment in America today. All right, so the investor gets their money back plus the high rate of return. Now, I didn't make these rules. These rules were made by the state legislature. They were passed down to the county and definite instructions given to the county board of commissioners or the board of supervisors, and they tell the treasurer what to do. All right, so you're probably saying to yourself, why would they pay me? They are going to pay you. 97% will pay you. At least that's what the records show. If they don't pay you, you're going to end up with the property. So certainly don't go out and buy any junkers. Look at what you're going to buy. Buy a nice house. For a matter of fact, buy them in the country club. Pay the certificates in the country club, and then go home and pray that they don't pay. You could end up with a property in a country club. Does that happen? Absolutely. It happens all the time. So if the property owner doesn't pay, you're going to end up with a property. Is that a good deal? What's my point in this whole lesson? My point is this. You will get paid. You should consider tax lien certificates. I'll have plenty of other videos on the channel that will talk about tax deeds. If you don't get paid on a tax lien certificate, you will get the property. Okay, I don't make the rules. The legislature made the rules. They insisted that the county follow the rules, and they'll not only levy taxes, they'll try to collect taxes. If they can't, they're going to put those tax certificates out there, and you can buy them. So what's this episode been about? It's about how you can invest with a very little amount of money. By that I mean, let's say you bought, there was a $100,000 house. Well, the taxes on that house are only going to be about 1%. So first year, they probably only own $1,000 or $1,200. You could buy that certificate, and if they didn't pay you, you could end up with that house for $1,000. Now, I don't make the rules. You need to understand the rules. I haven't given you those yet because we don't have time on this. So how can you invest money? Well, you can invest money safely and securely with tax lien certificates. If you don't get paid, you will get the property. All right, so I'm all finished on this video, and I do want to tell you right below me is a free gift. You ought to take advantage of that right now.